Welcome back to Ultimate S&S. I hope everyone is having as wonderful as a Sunday as I am. It's beautiful today. Something about Sundays, it's just nice to be able to take today and just relax. Now, if you're not getting ready, you're not prepared for what's coming, guys, you're going to have a really hard time here in a few months. I don't think it's going to be too much longer before this year ends out. I expect everyone to be struggling to put food on their tables. The price is going to be so insane. The availability is going down. It's really important that if you haven't started prepping, that you start prepping now. There's a lot of different types of things you can do to prepare yourself, planting gardens, raising quail, raising chickens, raising rabbits. There's just so much stuff, any type of homesteading stuff that interests you. I would recommend that you look into it. Right now, when it comes to cities, I know there are some people who feel that they would be better adapt into a city because they grew up in city life. I can tell you that is not going to be an easy thing. People do not want to hear that. If you are in a city, basically you're going to be under a lockdown. Understand it's your cities and things like that. That is going to have the National Guard roll in. That's where your martial laws and things will be declared. If you're out in the country, it's going to be a little more easy to move about and to get things done. On a city level, man, understand before you start seeing like Walking Dead things where all of Atlanta was completely emptied out. You're not going to see that. You're going to see gangs. You're going to see military forces. You're going to see rogue police officer forces and stuff like that. Understand, I know a lot of people in here, they really like Leos and stuff like that, and they do serve a great purpose, but understand that most of the people that are in those types of or in that type of position, they are already making plans for them and their family. When it comes down to it, do you think that they're going to care about you or me or their families? They're not getting paid. They're going to care for their families. So whatever they can get with their special training, that's what they're going to do, guys. That is where it's going to be at. So if you don't have a prepping group, it's a good idea to start looking into it. If you don't have medical training and stuff like that, I would suggest that you go out, get you some medical training books. They sell them. You can find them in libraries and things like that. You can find them at bookmobiles and stuff. There's a lot of places you can get that type of literature, and it's going to help you out a lot with what's coming next. I think it's important that we as a society realize that we have had it really nice in my lifetime, and a lot of lifetimes since before that. We did have World War II, Vietnam War, things like that. But here in this country, there has not been a major conflict since the Revolutionary War, guys, and then the Civil War. So we've not really had anything since those two big ones here. But I expect the way that this stuff is being primed, they had been trying to prime race wars. That fell through because despite what the left says, I don't believe there's as much racism in the world as what they claim. Now, there are people who have prejudice and things like that, but I don't believe that the racism is as bad as what they claim. At least I hope it's not. We'll see. But what they're trying to do now is that fell through. So what they're doing is they're priming up the generations that are beneath us as far as, age and stuff like that. They're training them up to hate the older generations, the generations who built the backbone of this country, the generations who have, worked hard to build homes and stuff. And these new kids, these teenagers and stuff, they're coming out, they have this sense of entitlement that they're entitled to whatever they want to do, and you have to provide that for them. That's not the way it works in America. But they seem to have bought this idea of socialism that those who don't have can take away from those who do have. What they need to realize is those who do have will fight to defend what they have. And if you're in a city, you're going to be looking at so many different dynamics that are going to be playing out. You need to get out of the cities now. You need to find a place to get. You need to have at least a bug out location so when things get bad, you can get out of it before it locks down. There's a lot of people like, well, I'll just hang out here and then raid supermarkets and stuff like that. Understand, when COVID hit, those stores were empty. What do you think is going to happen in a SHTF scenario? Stores are going to be empty. There's not going to be anything there for you to get. You're going to have your apartments and stuff. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people do not like to hear this, but if you have different types of handicaps and things like that, you really need to be in a group with your families if you can, because it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to maintain a lifestyle that is giving you a self-preparedness and a sustainable lifestyle at that. If you cannot do your own gardening and things, it's going to be harder for you. Now, you can have fuel, get your tillers and stuff, but you need to make sure that you have a lot of manual hand tools as well, hoes, mauls and stuff like that, shovels and things. Those are going to make it so you can keep your gardens going. If you have the property to keep mules and the old style plows and stuff, that would be optional. I mean, that would be really key to have that, but unfortunately I don't have that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, I have the hand tools to be able to maintain what we need to do around here. So what are you doing to prepare? You need to sit down with your spouses, with your family, with your children and stuff, and you need to come up with a plan. You need to come up with a plan, not just how to prepare, but you need to come up with evacuation plans and things like that, because even if it's not an SHTF event, you have major storms coming in. We're looking at hotter summers. We're looking at colder winters. We already know that the price of fuel has gone up, which is going to, that's going to transfer over to the price of our power bills and things like that as well. Those prices are going to continue to go up. The availability of fuel is going to go down. So over in Europe, there's actually areas right now that are having to stipend fuel for homes. And there's a lot of people that are saying, these analysts and stuff saying that a lot of these people are going to freeze or starve to death come this winter over in those areas. And that's something that we have a very realistic, probability here in this country as well. We seem to think that we are immune to things that are happening around the world. I would like to think that this stuff that's happening right now with the inflation and the food crisis, that is actually changing people's minds, that maybe you need to be a little more responsible with what you have. Look and see if there's stuff that you don't need. Maybe that's something you can sell off and apply that money towards something that you do need. So that would always be an option that you can do as well. I can't give you financial advice, but understand this: when things go to a point where it's like really bad, people are always like, well, where would you go to? Well, understand there are old homesteads that are landmarks and things like that. Nobody lives in those areas anymore. There's areas where there's literally just old chimneys set up, and you could build houses off of those areas. You want to get as far away from the population as you can in an area where you can actually survive. So what's your plan on that? I hope you've got one. If you don't, it's going to be on you at that point. Understand, you want to learn as much information as you can. Do not keep digital records of the stuff you want to do, because when it all comes down, there's not going to be power sources to charge phones, internets, and things like that to check this type of information. You make hard copies. You need to laminate those, put them in waterproof books and things like that. That way you have all that information when it comes to gardening. You're going to run into scenarios where, one, you could have a garden that's looking beautiful one week and then come out all day, and then you're going to see something weird. So one of the big things in any garden, especially if you have gardens that's planted near shades because of the high sun, the hot sun that we have down here, you're going to deal with what they call powdery mildew. That is just something that you have to deal with down here in Florida. Now, I have seen that wipe out entire crops and people's personal gardens and things. But what you can do to prevent against that is you can get some apple cider vinegar, and you can mix that with a 4-to-1 ratio, water to 1 of the apple cider vinegar, and that's going to raise the acidity level just a little bit. And you spray that on your leaves, you spray that on your plants, trim off the affected leaves that are turning yellow and have a lot of excess mildew. Spray that down. It's going to get rid of that mildew. It's going to keep it from spreading to the rest of your garden. You have to act quick when you see that, or you can lose entire crops. So today, that's what I went out, just kind of checking everything. And I like to maintain my plants. When I see that we've had a heavy rain and we have another rain coming in, it's going to be lasting 2 or 3 days, I go ahead and I spray my plants with that. Now, they have a neem oil that's actually works really well, not just for insects, but it also helps to get rid of that mildew and things like that. So you can look at that. It's not going to be just one type of neem oil. You're going to need to look and find one that helps fight mildew. What that is it just has a little bit more acidic type of a pH to it, and it keeps that mildew from building up. If you live in an area where you get a lot of rains, especially in the evenings and stuff, you're looking at 8 hours that these plants are sitting in water. There's not a lot of air movement and stuff for it to dry out, and it doesn't take but an hour or two for that mildew to start to form. So try to fight it, combat it the best way you can. If you don't, you can lose your entire garden. It does not just infect one type of plant. Now, you can look at plants that are specifically designed to be resistant to that type of stuff, but then you're starting to get into GMOs and things like that. And one of the problems with that is Those seeds will not always give a true offspring of what the plant came off of. You'll have some kind of an offshoot, and then it'll be depleted and it will no longer be resistant to that strain. So you need to really do your due diligence when you look into that. Heirloom seeds are great. They do have a little bit where they don't have as much tolerance to certain types of diseases, so you have to really stay on top of your gardens, guys. That's going to help you keep food back. It's going to help, I don't know if you've been to Walmart and priced how much it is for fresh zucchini and things like that. You're looking at $6 or $7 for a zucchini. That to me is insane. I mean, I'm kicking 2 or 3 out a day out here. So if you end up with a crop that's too heavy and you don't want to give it to people and stuff like that, you can always set you up a little stand and sell it as well. That's a great option if you need to get that extra money to be able to prep. And that's something I might look into doing with cantaloupe. We'll just see how our turnout is. But so far, everything is looking really good out there. We're pulling food off every day. Been cutting way back on a grocery bill and taking that money and applying that toward actually stocking stuff up. So there has been a few questions about how do you store canned goods or jarred goods and things. Well, when it comes to canned goods or jarred goods, you want to make sure that they are in an area that's cool, dry, and dark. You do not want an area that's kind of damp. Maybe a little bit kind of, warm humidity to it, because what you're going to do is you're going to end up having cans start getting rust and stuff, and that's going to affect the shelf life of it. Even if you're using glass jars, these lids, if you do not do them properly and you keep it stored properly, they will form rust around the seals and stuff, and you will end up losing a lot of your food. So it's very important that you take the time to make sure that all your preps are going into an area where they're safe, whether it be a closet or whatever. Now understand, if power goes out, the closet on the innermost part of the room is probably going to be one of the best bet areas. Personally, I try to keep my stuff at around 75 degrees to store that, and I try to make sure it has as low humidity as possible. You can do that by adding those the really large packs of the desiccant packs that they sell at Walmart. Those are great options to have because you can stack them into a room, just peel the thing off, it's going to suck the moisture out. That's going to save your cans and stuff as well. Another great thing is do not just stack your cans directly on top of each other. Make sure you put a corrugation or cardboard, as they call it, barrier between it, and that's going to help keep the weight off. It's going to help keep moisture from being trapped around rings and things like that as well. There are some videos where people say you pull the rings off of your cans. I don't know about that. What I do know, what I mean by that is after they actually seal them, they actually remove the ring, and this is sealed on, and they say you could just reuse this band. I don't know if that's true or not, and here's why. I can remember grandparents and things like that, great uncles, and every time they've ever canned food, and it's been for years stored, it's always had the band on. So don't cheap out. Make sure you keep your bands on that stuff. There are some people who store that stuff upside down. There's people who store it right side up. I don't think it really matters. Me personally, I think it's better to store it right side up. It has a wider base than here. That looks to me like a tip over. Looks to me like it could. That's just my opinions, guys. But anyway, I hope you're having a beautiful Sunday. If you're not, man, I feel bad for you. Maybe you should visit Florida once in a while because it's beautiful out here today. It'd be a great day to go out and do some jet skiing or something like that, or just go fishing with the family, or even just sit outside in a lawn chair in one of them little plastic pools with a water sprinkler spraying on you. That's how I roll. I grew up in North Carolina, Southern through and through. You can call that redneck if you want. I call it innovation. So everyone have a wonderful day.